A decades-long search in Story County came to a close over the weekend. Authorities found a stolen Ford pickup submerged in a pond frequented by fishermen. Local 5's Alex Fulton shares why the recovery quickly became a reunion.
Saturday, a man was out fishing here at West Peterson Pits just north of Ames. Using his sonar, he found an item in the water that appeared to be a vehicle and immediately called authorities.
You never know in this line of work what you're going to come upon.
Two Story County Sheriff's Office teams went into the water to recover the vehicle on Sunday. First, the Unmanned Aircraft Systems team deployed an underwater drone to figure out how it was positioned.
We'll utilize our divers to go down the water and hook up the tow straps to the best point of contact that we can to pull the vehicle out.
Captain Nicholas Linney says after the dive team's actions, a tow truck driver was called in.
The truck was approximately 16 to 18 feet deep in the water. It was somewhere between 35 to 50 feet out from shore.
That tow truck driver happened to be Cody Holmes, whose mom at one point owned the 1990 Ford Ranger.
It was actually the truck that I learned how to drive in after I got my permit, and truck I learned to drive stick shift in. And I was promised the truck was going to be mine after I turned 16 and got my driver's license.
The truck was stolen in 2004 from Robin Holmes's driveway in Nevada.
So, I mean, there was never another sighting of it. So, eventually you just give up. You're never going to see it again.
Cody says when he found out it was his mom's, he immediately called her.
It's nice to know that we finally know what happened to it and where it went. And it's kind of cool that it made a full circle back to me.
A birthday present finally delivered to Cody 2 decades too late.
Cody being the one to find it, I thought was pretty special since he was the one that lost it technically 20 years ago.
Authorities did not find any items inside the truck besides a stick pressed against the accelerator. Captain Linney tells me that's a sign the suspects were intentionally trying to hide the truck. In Story County, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
After the closure of a cosmetic surgery clinic in Ames back in February, many people are ringing the alarm over practices they say they've received from the lead doctor of the location. Local 5's Larissa Leone has been following this story closely. Larissa, you spoke with a former patient and you dug into the ongoing legal battle of this doctor. What can you tell us?
Well, Stephanie, I was first made aware of this case through a Facebook page that was created after the announcement of the closure of Sturm Cosmetic Surgery Clinic. It's located in Ames. And the page started out with around 1,000 people voicing their concerns on what they say the care that they received from Dr. Sturm. It has since grown to over 3,000 until it was shut down earlier today. I took a look at some pending litigation against Dr. Lindsay Sturm and spoke with 2 people formerly under her care. This is what I've uncovered so far. In a warning, some of the photos and words in this story are graphic.
Sturm Cosmetic Surgery Clinic is a modern building tucked in the city of Ames. The name of the building belongs to Dr. Lindsay Sturm, a cosmetic surgeon certified by the American Board of Facial Cosmetic Surgery.
Hey everyone, we are just wrapping up a very busy surgery day.
Though patients say what happened inside this building can only be described as mortifying.
Really looked into it, took my time before I scheduled anything.
In November of 2021, Christine Heinz was scheduled to have a mommy makeover procedure, which included a breast reduction, lift, abdominoplasty, and liposuction. This surgery was performed by Sturm in her clinic. At first, Heinz says the surgery went well, but the recovery started to worry her.
The next day, we noticed that part of my right breast, my nipple in particular, was gray. It just had a very off color to it. We did our follow-up appointment that day, and we asked about it, and we're told it was normal, that it was fine.
Normal and fine are the same words given to ease Melissa Witzke's mind after she chose Dr. Sturm to do a thigh lift and liposuction surgery. Much like Heinz, the surgery seemed to be normal, but she says the recovery was not.
She said, okay, it looks a little swollen, a little red. So we're not going to take the sutures out today, but it looks like you have a staple on your right side. I had no idea I even had staples.
Witzke still had scheduled follow-up appointments with Dr. Sturm, or so she thought, until she says she was hit with some shocking news.
I received a call, it was about 10, saying that they were no longer taking appointments and they weren't going to be for the foreseeable future. She had a medical emergency. And I said, okay, well, I have stitches that need to come out.
Both women say they frantically turned to other doctors for help. For Christine Heinz, she says some of her incisions had come loose, leaving her with large open wounds. She said her new doctor said she needed to be seen immediately.
He proceeded to tell me that my right, they call it the NAC, the nipple areola complex, was completely dead and gone, that it had essentially rotted off of my body. And that most of my right breast was also dead.
Due to the clinic's abrupt closure, Witzke says she had a difficult time finding a doctor and then obtaining her records. When she finally did, she says her new doctor was stunned at what was left in her body.
He said that the staples should have been out a long time ago.
These women's testimonies against the practice of Dr. Lindsey Sturm aren't the only ones. In May of 2024, a lawsuit was filed in Story County alleging Dr. Sturm performed core liposuction and abdominoplasty on a patient that led to a massive hemorrhage that caused their death. This month, Dr. Lindsey Sturm filed for bankruptcy, and according to the Iowa Board of Medicine, she voluntarily surrendered her medical license after being accused of professional incompetency.
Well, in its latest update today, Central Iowa Waterworks says the first ever lawn watering ban in Central Iowa continues to be effective. Officials provided more information today at the treatment plant on Fleur Drive. Waterworks says it has seen excellent cooperation from customers. We also got some clarity from one chemist on why the nitrate levels are so much higher compared to previous springs.
We saw increased demand this spring, which meant we had to make more water, which means we had to pull more of that bad water in. The nitrate has also been elevated for an extended period of time in the rivers.
Over the last few days, many have taken to social media to post the results of their own at-home water tests. Local 5's Alex Fulton looked into online claims that the water is unsafe to drink.
I think we should all pay a little bit more attention to what comes out our tap.
Central Iowans are testing out their taps through water monitoring kits.
So how does it work? Well, first you fill a cup with water, and then you come over here and grab one of the water test strips and dip it in the water. Next, you set a timer for 30 seconds. Once the timer is up, you compare the test strip to the chart on the bottle. This strip shows the nitrate levels are about 80 milligrams per liter.
Claire Ruby, an environmental science professor at Drake, says it's important to remember there are two ways to measure nitrate levels.
If you are looking at a bottle that says reporting the nitrate as nitrate in milligrams per liter, it is not the same scale.
As a reminder, 10 milligrams per liter is safe to drink. The charts on testing kits have scales for both nitrate measurement units.
A legal standard of 10 milligrams per liter of nitrate as N is closer to 45 or so milligrams per liter as nitrate.
David Squirtney, a chemistry professor at the University of Iowa, says the tests aren't as accurate as the ones done by Waterworks.
They're using approved methods that have been mandated by the EPA that if we're going to regulate nitrate, these are the techniques you have to use.
Which is why both professors recommend people continue to drink the water like normal.
When it comes to the numbers they're reporting, trust them because they put a lot of work and a lot of time and money into getting reliable numbers and measurements.
In Des Moines, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
We continue to ask Iowans about how they are affected by the conflicts between Iran and Israel. Local 5's Larissa Leone spoke with an Iranian-American author and a former Pella resident who now lives in Israel. They shared their hopes for the ceasefire agreement.
It's been a week of continuous turmoil in the Middle East as both the Iranian and Israeli governments continue to threaten each other's citizens. For Iranian Iowan Kaveh Akbar, his family back in Tehran are weighing heavy on his heart, particularly his aunt, who is very ill.
I have an aunt with stage 4 cancer who needs daily chemo that she hasn't been able to go to since Israel started bombing in Tehran.
Over in Israel, former Pella native Alyssa Gertzel has been relying on an emergency app to tell her when to take shelter and when it's safe to leave.
You stay in there until you get the confirmation that it's safe to leave. And the confirmation comes from the IDF.
President Trump on Tuesday expressing his frustrations with both Israel and Iran following the lapse in the agreed ceasefire. He says he helped facilitate between the two countries.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Akbar says he's not a politician, so it's not for him to say whether this ceasefire will or won't stick. But he says Israel hasn't given Iranians any reason to trust that they will adhere to a ceasefire.
Even our President Trump said that Israel violated the ceasefire, hours after it was signed, right? And that's coming from someone who's vociferously pro-Israel.
Gerstel hopes the two countries can honor their agreement.
I want the ceasefire to last. I don't want any more rockets. I don't want people to die, and I want this to end.
Storms came close to shutting down a business in Clive. The owner of Westside Auto Pros said he thought about closing this afternoon if Walnut Creek got too high. Local 5's Alex Fulton joins us live from the creek with a look at the water levels. Alex.
Well, Stephanie, fortunately, the levels here at Walnut Creek are low enough to not cause any major issues. You can see here behind me, the creek is at about 5 feet. That's about 2.5 feet below the flood stage. The levels could easily change with more rain in the forecast, affecting not just roads, but businesses as well.
We'll stay proactive and obviously keep everybody's safety in mind first.
Being right by Walnut Creek, Joe Jerkins with Westside Auto Pros is used to rising water levels.
We just know that it's possible once every few years that we might have to make an adjustment, but we stay prepared for it.
Wednesday morning, he got word from Clive firefighters they might have to shut down Swanson, the street to the shop. That was if heavy rainfall caused Walnut Creek to rise within half a foot of flood stage as initially predicted by the National Weather Service.
We obviously moved our employees' vehicles. We have some really great neighbors over on 94th Street that are on a little higher ground that let us borrow some spots.
Fortunately, creek levels remained low enough to not cause any major road closures in Clive.
There is more rain in the forecast, and it appears that some of the rain events could continue to deliver very, very high amounts in a short period of time in some localized areas.
Clive Assistant City Manager Pete DeCook says when it comes to weather events, the city is in constant communication with community partners.
We do really depend on our experts at the National Weather Service, folks who can give us that very detailed information about where water is landing in the watershed and the timing with which we might expect to see it then arrive in Clive.
Back at Westside Auto Pros, with more showers in the forecast, Jerkins is already preparing for the worst.
I'll come in early tomorrow and assess and make sure that it hasn't come up overnight, made it impossible to get through. We'll have access to our customers' phone numbers and everything tonight so that if we do need to make adjustments to tomorrow's schedule that we sure can.
The Greenbelt Trail is closed at all points east of Campbell Park. It is expected to reopen tomorrow morning. Be sure to head to cityofclive.com for the latest information on trail and street closings. Live in Clive, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
The 4th of July is coming up, and we might see more fireworks in the sky due to the new ordinance Des Moines put in place. Local 5's Emma Stroner shares what the rules are, how to report a violation, and the impact they've had on a local business owner.
If you're setting off fireworks for the 4th of July this year, you might want to be aware of the new fireworks ordinance. The rule permits fireworks at certain times on the 3rd and 4th and on private property only.
According to a press release, the city says they saw multiple damages to city parks in the years prior to this new ordinance. To reduce these damages, citizens are now only allowed to set off fireworks on private property with the owner's permission during specific times. This includes July 3rd between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. and July 4th between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. If this rule is violated, the Des Moines Police Department wants you to let them know.
If you want effective enforcement action, you need to wait and talk to a police officer. You need to commit to following through the court process for us to issue that citation.
The consequences of a violation could be serious, especially if there's other activities involved.
If we issue you a citation, it might be a fine of a couple $100. But if you're standing in the middle of the street lighting off fireworks, you're intoxicated, or you're acting like a jerk and fighting with your neighbors, there's a very good chance you're going to go to jail.
Sergeant Paul Parizek says that if you believe that you or someone else is in danger or harm during a violation, don't call the station number. Call 911. The new ordinance isn't just important to law enforcement. Since it was established, owner of Freedom Fireworks, James Kaczynski, has seen an increase of customers.
We've had a lot of customers come in. They are looking around. They are getting excited about it, the new law. We had a bunch of people that have already said that they will be back.
Kaczynski says he's preparing for lots of business on the 4th.
We've added extra registers to a lot of our locations. We're usually stocked pretty good, but we did add a little bit more this year as well.
It's evident that the sky won't be short of fireworks this 4th of July. I'm Emma Stroner, Local 5 News.
Well, today marks 10 years since the U.S. Supreme Court made history, legalizing same-sex marriage nationwide with its decision in Obergefell v. Hodges. While it was a major victory for equality, some Iowans worry that right could still be at risk. Local 5's Megan McPherson explains why.
Stephanie, this video captured outside the U.S. Supreme Court after that landmark ruling shows just how powerful that moment was. And over 1,000 miles away, many Iowans shared in the celebration, knowing marriage equality was now a nationwide right. But Iowa actually made history 6 years before that ruling, when 6 same-sex couples sued the state for the right to marry and won. Kate and Trish Varnum of Cedar Rapids were among them. After their victory at the Iowa Supreme Court in 2009, they married and later adopted a son. You can see them here on that day. But it took the Obergefell decision for both mothers to be listed on his birth certificate. On this historic anniversary, I caught up with Kate. She reflected on the lasting impact of both rulings and her growing concerns as some Republican lawmakers continue pushing to roll back those rights.
Overturning marriage equality would impact not just people like Trish and myself, but it would impact our son and others like him who are being raised in same-sex households. We are still fighting. We are still working, and we're not going anywhere.
In the final weeks of the 2025 session, Republican Senator Sandy Salmon introduced a resolution urging the Supreme Court to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges. In a statement to Local 5, she said the ruling, quote, elevated the desires of adults over the rights, needs, and well-being of children. Government policy regarding marriage ought to put children first, end quote. And the resolution was sent to a Senate committee, but never advanced. A Gallup poll last month showed 68% of Americans still support same-sex marriage, a number that's held steady for the past decade.
Well, a grieving Des Moines mother says forming a nonprofit for first-generation students is helping her heal. In 2022, 14-year-old Emma Cardenas was on the way home from school when she was killed in a hit-and-run. As Local 5's Alex Fulton shares, the mother has a history of helping.
That's right, Stephanie. Anna Campos started giving back in honor of her daughter, Emma Cardenas, a year after she was killed. She held a shoe drive at Hyatt Middle School, distributing Vans, her daughter's favorite, to 8th graders. Anna wanted a way to help the community year-round, so she started a nonprofit.
Okay, so this is our vision statement.
Anna Campos is getting close to launching her nonprofit, Simply Loved.
Emotionally, it's been like a big struggle.
It's dedicated to her daughter, Emma Cardenas, a freshman killed in a hit-and-run walking home from East High School.
That was definitely a hard day. I would say it's probably one of the hardest days of my life when that happened.
Emma's former teacher, Jessica Claugas, is already planning to volunteer.
Watching them develop and kind of grow as a family when they could have easily just kind of crumbled down really showed me the light.
Simply Loved will have a clothing closet with hygiene products and used clothes for girls in need.
It's just going to be a boutique style clothing closet mobily, so we could go to different places.
It will also offer mental health workshops, literacy assistance, and coaching on life after graduation.
Every year I do a word of the year, and this year was empowerment. So being said, I wanted to help not only empower myself in my careers, but empower other people.
Anna says the goal is for the mobile clothing closet to start next school year, with the other initiatives debuting even earlier.
She was a very kind-hearted person, and every step of the way there's a marking of Emma in each one of them.
Now there will be a Simply Loved launch party at the Hampton Inn downtown from 6 to 9 p.m. on July 10th. It's a way to introduce the community to the nonprofit, raise money, and celebrate what would have been Emma's graduation.
The Iowa Baseball Camp for the Deaf is celebrating 10 years as a local nonprofit today. Campers spend a week learning from volunteers and professionals. Local 5 chief photojournalist Don Schmidt takes us behind the plate to see how the event is about way more than the game.
Out to the crowd. This is our Iowa Baseball Camp for the Deaf, 10th anniversary. When we started the camp, it had maybe 15 to 20 campers. And as it's been going on, it's just grown. A lot of the campers who are deaf and hard of hearing are isolated in their homes around the state. Maybe they're mainstreamed in their school. They're the only deaf student in their school. They don't have a lot of friends who they can interact with, but they come here and they meet other deaf and hard of hearing kids who sign just like them. They build those connections.
This is my 4th year. My favorite thing is probably being able to connect with people that also have Usher syndrome like me, and probably to play baseball because I like baseball.
Shortstop, come on. I like to just blend in because at my school there's only like two deaf people, and that's like me and someone else.
The most important thing that I want the kids to know is just you're not alone. You're not the only one. Deaf people can do anything, and there's a lot more of us around.
Everybody deserves a chance to play a sport that they like to play. Be nice to others and be kind even if they have a disability.